Yo, it's your boy Logos, and today I want to react to the Critical Drinker discuss a movie I've been hearing about a lot over the past month or so, The Sound of Freedom. Honestly, I haven't seen it myself, even though I've been thinking about it, but of course there's been a lot of controversy about it, which is pretty weird if you ask me. The whole idea of a movie fighting against trafficking, sex trafficking, and protecting children just sound like something that anybody should support, or like you don't have to go out and see it yourself, but you shouldn't be trying to down talk it or talk shit on the people that made it. But that's what I'm seeing from the news and the media lately. Well, at least a couple weeks ago when it was fresh release and it was getting a lot of press. To be honest with you, it doesn't really surprise me because I don't believe the media. I think they're pretty dishonest and they're bought and paid for. And the people I think they're bought and paid for by are the same people that are involved with this type of stuff. That the Sound of Freedom and the movie is depicting is trying to stop. Child trafficking or international trafficking of adults or children. Either way, it's sick and evil. And you could call me a conspiracy theorist, you could call me a 10-4 hatters, I don't care. I think this shit is going on. I know what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. We all know what happened to Jeffrey Epstein. I'm not stupid. I don't think any of us are stupid. We're competent enough to understand you don't just get rid of yourself the way he did. He had a role to play into a whole bigger network of things that's pretty sick and evil and disgusting if you ask me. I'm just gonna be straight up with you. But I like the Critical Drinker. I usually agree with some of the stuff he says or most of the stuff that he says. And if something is trash or you think it's trash, you're gonna say it. You're not gonna BS it because whatever. Money or anything else. Like people's opinions. So let's get into it because I may check this out. Especially if you guys want me to do a little review on it. Similar to what I did at the Queen of Cleopatra. No, Queen Cleopatra. My fault. Let's get into it.
Now, you don't need me to tell you that it's been a pretty uninspiring year at the box office. Yeah, there's been success stories like Super Mario Bros., Across the Spider-Verse, and Guardians of the Galaxy 3, but generally, 2023 has been a relentless cavalcade of disappointingly bland superhero films, unwanted remakes, and massive failures like Dial of Destiny, Shazam 2, The Flash, and The Little Mermaid.
I can't forgive them for what they did to Shazam 2. Or Shazam 1 for my opinion. Because I love Shazam as a comic book character. He's very cool to me. I know he may seem corny to other people, but the portrayal of him in the movie just seems so damn corny to me. I hate it. Shazam is like a child at heart, but still when he like becomes the superhero, he doesn't seem like a freaking cornball the way he's portrayed by the actor. But that's just me personally.
It seems like almost nothing is inspiring people to go to the movies these days. But then along comes a little low budget movie like Sound of Freedom that I can honestly say I knew precisely nothing about until a few days ago, which seems to have ignited some kind of firestorm in the public consciousness and capitalised on the gaping hole left by Dial of Destiny's implosion, resulting in massive overperformance at the box office and a flood of emails practically demanding that I watch it now. Well, never let it be said that the drinker backs down from a challenge. And guess what? Sound of Freedom is really fucking good. In fact, I'd go so far as to say that it deserves the hype and praise that it's been getting, managing to tackle some pretty brutal subject matter in a sensitive and restrained way that never feels exploitative, delivering some excellent performances from a talented cast that don't overshadow their roles, and a storyline that feels neatly grounded in the true events that it's been based on. In short, it's exactly what you'd want in a movie like this, keeping you gripped and tense right until the end, and almost never descending into the kind of extravagant Hollywood tropes that often derail true stories like this. So what the hell, let's dive right in and summarise the plots. The story centres around Tim Ballard, a Homeland Security agent tasked with monitoring and arresting child traffickers across the US. Needless to say, it's a tough job that takes its toll on the man's emotions, but the bigger problem is that for all the criminals they've put in prison, they've failed to recover any of their actual victims. Most of the time it's because they're outside Ballard's jurisdiction, hidden away in places like Mexico and Central America. But when Ballard finally manages to recover a young trafficking victim named Miguel who begs him to rescue his sister, he hatches a plan to mount a massive sting operation that'll take down the entire network and save dozens, possibly even hundreds of innocent children.
What is the issue with this movie then? Because this sounds like a pretty damn good plot so far. Like you have a compelling emotional reason to get attached to the main characters. the mission that he's on is a good and pure one. He has a kid that he saved to help him go and do this. Like, what issue could you have with this movie? And honestly, this remind me of Sicario just a little bit. I'm not just saying because they went down to South America or anything like that, but just like he doing an operation without jurisdiction of like the overall government or within the people he's supposed to be working with usually, and he doing some like undercover type of Renaissance type mission to save people he want to save or for his own purposes. This give me like a Sicario type vibe. This sounds pretty good. Like, come on.
The plan eventually sees him travel into Colombia and partnering up with a former cartel boss who's turned his life around as the men work to set up a false front and gain the trust of the child traffickers. But with his superiors threatening to pull the plug and his partners growing suspicious of his intentions, can Ballard really hope to pull off the seemingly impossible? How much will he be willing to risk to complete his mission, and can he really hope to reunite Miguel with his lost sister?
So you have intrigue with people within his own organization trying to stop him from doing it. So you have an extra bit of, I don't know, mystery played into this film. Everything I'm hearing so far makes me want to watch it more. I don't understand why I'm seeing all these articles or posts saying this movie is bad, you shouldn't go see it, it's propaganda. We know this stuff exists. You're not going to tell me it doesn't.
One of the things that really impressed me about Sound of Freedom was how restrained and grounded it all is. It's been classified as an action movie for some reason, but if you're expecting to see gunfights, explosions, and big blowout set pieces, you're definitely going to be disappointed because that's absolutely not what this film is. It's more of a tense character-driven drama, very much grounded in reality, where there's no big dramatic resolutions to the major plot points, no climactic battle that sees our hero fighting his way out of an impossible situation. What we get instead is the grinding reality of work like this, the negotiations and information gathering that goes on behind the scenes, the tough decisions and compromises that have to be made for the greater good, the personal risks and sacrifices that the job demands. You can see the toll it's taken on Ballard, the things he's forced to see that will probably haunt him for the rest of his life, the people he's forced to play nice with, when you can tell he'd much rather be pounding their faces into fucking mush. And it's all hammered home by some pretty harrowing scenes of the trafficking victims themselves and what they're subjected to. I mean, let's face it, seeing young kids being subjected to stuff like this is always going to be a tough watch, but to the film's credit, it never gets gratuitous or exploitative for pure shock value. It shows you just enough to leave you in no doubt about what's going to happen or what just took place, without feeling the need to show the disgusting act itself. It walks a fine line, but it does it with sensitivity and good judgment, thank God. And big props to the actors for their work on this one. Jim Caviezel's had a bit of a weird career in his time, starring in big movies like The Passion of the Christ and The Count of Monte Cristo, but it's like he was never quite able to parlay those roles into mainstream success. He feels like he's been a star in waiting for like 20 years now, but I've got to say, he gives a knockout performance in Sound of Freedom. Like the rest of the film, he's restrained and subdued as Tim Ballard, but he can say a lot with just the slight change of expression or a haunted look in his eyes. He's a man that's seen things he'll never be able to unsee, and it weighs heavily on his soul. He's neatly balanced out by Bill Camp as a former cartel employee trying to atone for past mistakes. He provides a bit of much needed levity in what's obviously a pretty heavy movie, always chomping on cigars and cracking jokes, but underneath it all there's some pretty dark secrets that only come out near the finale. What's almost as interesting as the movie itself is the reaction it seems to have provoked from the mainstream media that seem determined to tear it down at any cost. I mean, you'd think a movie that sheds light on the hidden nightmare of child trafficking would be a pretty admirable cause worthy of support, but apparently not for the people who applauded Cuties as a bold piece of...
These fucking freaks. These same people that want people to watch Cuties and is nothing worried about when they have these young girls dressed in this type of way, doing moves in a provocative type of way, from my understanding. And it's some type of, I don't know, weird art form that's supposed to tell a story. No, this is telling a story in a sad, provocative type of way that gets you engrossed, from my understanding. Everything I'm hearing so far. So far, it makes me want to check it out myself. But Cuties, I'm not watching that shit. The hell? These people are weird, man.
of artistic expression. Why don't they want this movie to
Bold.
succeed?
They called it
Why is
bold.
Hollywood so defensive about it?
Because they do
It
it.
almost gets you thinking, doesn't it?
And the
Either
people they
way,
protect.
regardless of the media firestorm raging around it, Sound of Freedom is an excellent movie that kept me thoroughly gripped from start to finish. It's a film that reminds us that even though there's a lot of bad people in this world doing the worst things imaginable, there are also still good men fighting to bring them to justice. And maybe
Exactly.
that's something we could all do with remembering. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away now.
I think I'm gonna check out the film. And to tack on the way he said about there are good men fighting evil stuff like this, one of those people I could think of is Ted Kennedy, because from my understanding and what I watched on the Joe Rogan podcast when he was on it for like I think about 3 or 4 hours talking to Joe Rogan, he was in Afghanistan after the US pulled out I think a couple years ago. So he was able to see the evil and the disgusting acts they did to people, men, women, and children. They didn't care. They didn't discriminate. Stuff that was going on during the Iraq War or during the war in different places in the Middle East. But either way, he was talking about the stuff he's seen and the people that he saved. And when he said there are people out there fighting evil stuff like that, I thought about him and other Marines, Navy SEALs, or service people that fight against terrorism or actual people that do evil shit. Of course, I don't support the military industrial complex, and we're seeing that in work right now in Ukraine in the war. But even still, there are individual soldiers and fighters and servicemen and women that care about people and they're saving people and they're doing actual stuff to stop the evil in this world. And I think I'm gonna check this movie out and maybe I'll do a video on it. If you really want me to and tell me in the comments down below, I'll definitely do it. But it just sounds interesting to me. It sounds like Sicario, but with a more holistic, nice, and good overall mission. Sicario, it was engrossing because of the same reason, like intrigue and back channels and stuff like that and subterfuge. This has some of the same things I think from what I'm listening from the Critical Drinker, but also with a very good mission overall. They're trying to save children. Who could stop that? But let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also let me know if you've seen it, and I'll definitely like talk with you and we can have a conversation about it, especially after I watch it. But that's it for now. It's your boy Logos. Like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Peace.